Good afternoon slash evening, everybody. Welcome back to Cilinix Crypto. Hope you're all doing great, and welcome to this new video right here on, Bitcoin. We'll focus on Bitcoin, but we'll talk about the entire market, right? So I also wanted to touch upon some fundamentals and in general, and that's also what the thumbnail will be, and probably the title as well. I wanted to talk about, whether we are at risk of a potential crash soon, right? So there's quite a lot of bearish pressure coming in into the markets right now. And I would say in general, I mean, if you take a look at Bitcoin right here, you'd say, all right, well, that's stable. And that's also what we'll talk about in a moment, because ultimately, especially if you look at the higher time frames, I think Bitcoin is stable. And I expect it to continue to be stable. But stability on the higher time frames doesn't really mean that much, right? I mean, Bitcoin can spike down 7% right now, and altcoins can absolutely crash. And we can still relatively, remain stable. So wanted to touch upon that a little bit more. And then outside of that, I mean, Bitcoin might seem stable right here. Well, but I think a lot of you are not noticing that right now. When altcoins look like this, and when the Bitcoin dominance looks like this, right? So therefore, wanted to do a full video right now on the risk of a crash for Bitcoin. We'll look at Bitcoin. We'll start off with some fundamentals. And then we'll talk about, I'm not going to talk about XRP and Ethereum anymore right here. I think the price action of those, if you watch my videos yesterday or this morning, my thoughts are still the same, and everything that you need to know is covered in there. So keep your eyes on that, but I'll keep an eye on altcoins in general. Or we'll talk about altcoins in general. All right, so first of all, can we crash fundamentally, right? Are there macroeconomic and financial things going on right now that could make the markets crash? And I would say on the lower time frames, yes. Obviously, the unrest in the Middle East can make us spike down and can make us crash down quite hard, right? So that is, I think, that the number one thing you need to be wary for right now, right? So that we get some sort of escalation and that we are going to spike down hard, and that is a possibility, right? Personally, well, I'm not going to tell you where exactly, but I have orders quite low, making sure I'm ready for something like that. But there's also imbalances down here. There's some other magnets in terms of, technical levels that are down here, and we can definitely, with some sort of escalation, we can definitely push down lower. However, if we take a look at general fundamentals, I mean, I've several times spoken about the oil prices, that those are increasing, which is bad because that increases the chance at a recession, and that's bad as well. And that is true, but right now, I mean, we have to be honest. I mean, right now the oil prices are at the same levels as they were in November, December 2024, and there's no real, causal relationship. There's no real, correlation between oil prices and Bitcoin, right? So yes, I mean, this isn't great, but if it's still at these levels, if there's no major uptrend in this, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to crash with the markets. Then outside of that, if you look at the volatility index and gold, gold has failed to break out. So that means that the unrest in the world that's there right now, is there, but it's not enough to make the gold prices go up, and the volatility index is also nowhere near the levels we have seen in April and May. So when we're looking at the general fundamentals, and then if you take a look at the stock market right here, that's also still performing very, very well. So fundamentally, can we spike down? Yes, but can we lose this structure that we have created so far for Bitcoin? I don't think so. All right, so if I would have to give you an answer right now on whether Bitcoin can crash, I would say no, because my thoughts of a crash would be something like we saw right here, right, at the end of February. And I think right now we are playing a whole different ballgame. I think the fundamentals are better. I think there's less reasons to expect a crash like this. So do I expect a pullback, especially in the summer? Yes. Do I expect us to lose the consolidation, the stability we have up here? No. And when we're talking about altcoins, the story becomes a little bit more complicated because altcoins look worse, right? I mean, if you take a look at others right here, if you take a look at the total 3, these are looking worse, right? I mean, the total 3 has major support coming up soon, so that's potentially good news. And others also has, pretty major support coming up soon. But I would say that for Bitcoin and altcoins, the story is different, right? So for Bitcoin, I expect stability. For altcoins, I also do expect stability, but I think for altcoins specifically, we can still see quite a lot more downside potential before we actually bottom out and before we get more stability. So yeah, I think that is everything you need to know right now for the markets. I mean, if you take a look at others, like I said, I mean, there's some major support coming up, but the major supports, is a couple of percentage points lower. And for total 3, so this is more relevant for coins like XRP, Solana, Sui, Dogecoin, etc. Like there's major support coming up as well, but it's also a little bit lower. While for Bitcoin, I would argue it's closer, and there's stronger support closer to the prices currently. But yeah, I think that's what you need to know regarding the markets for now going into the weekend. By the way, I mean, there's at this point of time, most altcoins are just correlated to Bitcoin. So there's no real altcoin, I would say, that's outperforming the markets or that's really worth it to keep an eye on right now. Maybe WorldCoin with the news we just had, but no, that's it. That's what I think you need to know for now. I'll be back with more videos tomorrow morning and hopefully also tomorrow afternoon, but otherwise on Sunday. For now, thank you for watching. Hopefully that helps, and I'll see you all in my next videos. Bye.